lightly spiced, deep and savoury black bean pork. Be careful though, because it will snap, crackle and pop in the wok. Guys, welcome back to Wok Wednesday. We're here at London's premier Asian cookery school. I'm Jeremy, this is Wok Wednesday. Let's cook some pork. The first thing you want to do is you want to blanch your pork belly, and the reason for that is you're sort of bringing out the fatty impurities and you get all that scum at the top of the water, and then it kind of also tightens up the fattiness, and sort of just the whole thing just sits up a bit more straight. 5 minutes, boiling water. I've got some fermented or preserved black beans here. These are Chinese black beans, are actually soya beans that are preserved in salt. And they're quite salty, so you either steam them to sort of take out the sort of excessive, punchy, super salty flavour, or a bit of boiling hot water from a kettle just to soak them works too. After that, it's just about setting up your core ingredients, and I've got a fair bit of pork for one stir fry here, and it's double cooked pork so that when it hits the wok, it should get a nice sort of crisp edge around each slice that I'll get into. Some red onion, finely sliced. And that'll take up most of your wok clock. Especially if you've got a small plate. I'm just going to throw everything in the same plate. I mean, this stir fry is so quick once you've blanched and sliced your pork that really it's about searing the pork and the slices of pork, and then bringing these sort of ingredients and flavour into the stir fry all at once, especially if the heat of your wok is high enough. I've got 4 quite hot looking chilies here, so I'm actually going to just pierce these chilies because I don't want the chili to overpower my stir fry, but I do want not just heat, but some nice sort of chili flavour that goes really well with the preserved black beans. That saltiness, that sort of bittersweet flavour will come out and sort of interact with the chilies really well. Now, I've got a fair bit of ginger here. Again, the sort of bittersweet nature of the ginger and slight spiciness works nicely with the black bean. And you could make a black bean sort of garlic and ginger paste for this, or for ease, you just sort of bash your ginger and keep it a little bit more together. So this sort of quick way of preparing all your base ingredients is very, it's quite traditional actually. It's the type of sort of preparation that the chefs would use in like the Dai Pai Dongs in Hong Kong or street food places. Quick, easy, simple, and the black beans, everything kind of just all happens in the wok on that high heat, and if you've got good wok hay. About a tablespoon of oyster sauce, same amount of light soy. So I've got my salty and my savoury in there. Mellow it out slightly with some Shaoxing rice wine. Gives it a bit of sort of sweet aroma. Some dark soy, a dash, half a teaspoon should do it, to just deepen the colour a little. I've got some chicken stock as well, ready to use as and when in the stir fry. And then my black beans, and there are different ways you can use this. You can either sort of, as I said, like crush it into quite a sort of thick paste, or on this occasion, I'm going to actually keep them a bit more whole and then lightly crush them when I'm actually stir frying them, because I want to be able to almost pick up little black beans or salted beans whilst you're sort of eating each piece of pork. Now the pork, you can see it's really sort of tightened up, held its shape because of that blanching. And now you can just slice thin slices of your belly pork. I've blanched it enough so it has cooked through, so you know, just over 5 minutes. And that helps to then, when it hits the hot wok, for each piece to sear well and get a nice crisp around the edge. And when you slice it thin enough like this, it's fine to keep the skin of the pork on because that will crisp up nicely too in the wok. Now, I'm using my cast iron wok here. I'm going to bring it to high heat and then I'm just going to turn it down to sort of medium high so it gets a good colour on each piece, but I'm going to sear the pork first. So that's, if I were doing a wok clock, which I haven't because I've just messed that up, so I would have the pork at 12 o'clock on my wok clock. Oil around the edge of the wok so it just kind of sips in. Woo! That pork is sizzling really well. You want to spread out the pieces of pork all the way sort of around the edges of the wok so that as much as possible each piece starts to caramelize around the edges. And you should be able to hear the sizzle of your wok. If you feel like you need to sort of turn the heat up or down, just use the sound. I'm going to go up a little bit to make sure that it really is getting heat all the way through that cast iron wok. Now, at this point, much like frying any piece of meat, allow it a little bit of time, so like 30 seconds to a minute, maybe a little bit more, to start to crisp up that bottom edge before you start to turn those pieces. It's almost as if I'm using this wok like a tabletop barbecue or hot plate. And the pieces that have gone nice and sort of golden brown and crisp around the edges, you then want to move round to the edge of the wok so that there's space in the base of the wok for other bits to cook more. If you need more space, then you can just take out the cooked pieces, and as each piece is nice and crisp, take them out, and then we'll pop them back in later on. That did feel a little dangerous. This pork is nicely crisped up though, so it's worth it. And it's left a bit of that sort of lard in there, that pork fat in there as well. Black beans in first. And you'll smell that oil just taking up the flavour of those black beans very quickly. So on this high heat, my garlic, ginger, onion and chillies can go in. I'm just going to whack the heat up now. And because black beans can be quite sticky, if you need to add a little bit more of that oil, that cooking oil, go ahead and do so. But once the sauce gets in and my chicken stock comes in later on, it will pick up all the flavour from the bottom of this really smoking hot wok. Just let that sizzle for 30 seconds or so, and then I start to sort of layer everything back in so the pork can go on top. Now I want this to get smoking hot before the sauce goes in so that it kind of just bubbles up vigorously straight away. Great heat on this wok. You want to get underneath that pork now, start to mix it all together. And you can see with this cast iron wok, it's way too heavy for me to flick around. So I'm just getting underneath with my school of wok spatula to get all that flavour mixed in there. Once the sauce is nicely wrapped around the meat, that's when you can start to add little additions of this chicken stock. And that stock is going to help to create that lovely sauce that I want. It's not just wrap around the meat, but also just sort of, if you're eating this with some rice or anything like that, you've got enough sauce to mop up. The stir fries aren't always done the same way, you know. It depends on what you're cooking as to how you want to get the best out of it. So at that point, it really is, as Lee pointed out to me, kind of like a quick braise, rather than just a sort of classic stir fry. This really is traditional Cantonese cooking. You can really taste the ginger of that, and the black bean works a treat. And actually this pork belly shouldn't be soft, it should have a real good bite to it. Don't forget to like, comment, subscribe, ding, hit that notification bell, and you'll find loads of recipes on the rest of the channel.